Why hello there, welcome to a Flowcat video. I am ashamed to admit that I completely missed the Fontaine teaser in the last live stream. I watched the special announcement live stream for 3.7 on YouTube after it had already aired, and I think when I got to the end, I didn't notice the little 40-second teaser because they didn't even really say anything about it. They just sort of showed it and you know, that was it. So it actually took people on stream telling me that it happened for me to then go find it and react to it. I'll go ahead and throw the clip of the teaser itself like right here. But yeah, I mean, there's a little bit to talk about here. You can see the MC swimming, and you can also see what looks like an environment in the game. Like at first, it could just be a cutscene or something like that, but as you look at it, it actually appears to be an area that we might be able to explore via like a swimming mechanic. Now again, this could be totally wrong. This could just be a cutscene leading into like the city or something like that. Like maybe it's an underwater city, I don't really know. But either way, it seems that they are at the point where they are ready to start teasing and showing things from Fontaine. So that's pretty exciting. I mean, that probably means that we're gonna see Fontaine in the next 2 or 3 patches. So I hope you are all ready. So in this video, I sort of wanted to talk about what we can expect from Fontaine, like things that we pretty much know that we're going to get. And then as well, I wanted to talk about things that I hope we get or things that I'm not really sure about or whatever. They're pretty much just things that I would like to see in the game. And yeah, so to start things off, let's go ahead and talk about what we absolutely can expect, the things that I know are going to happen in Fontaine. Well, first of all, we can talk about Hydro main character. I mean, that is the most obvious thing. Every time we go to a new region, we get the element associated with that region. So Fontaine being the Hydro region, we will obviously be getting the Hydro main character. This has a lot of potential because Hydro main character, while, you know, probably not being the strongest Hydro unit in the game, will certainly bring another option to free-to-play players for Hydro application. If you play a lot of Genshin, then you probably know that Hydro is an extremely important element. In a lot of teams, Hydro units function as the main source of elemental application for people to react off of. And as well, Hydro units can be glue for a team where units may not work well originally. So an instance of this might be like an Overvape team where you have a Pyro unit, an Electro unit, and you're able to vape and overload at the same time if you throw in a Hydro option there, which just increases the team's viability immediately by a lot. So the point is that Hydro MC is going to be a great addition to the game, and for Hydro MC, I would really like to see just off-field application, like a lot of off-field Hydro application, and sure, the skill could be like a quick burst of Hydro or something easy peasy like that, but it would be nice to see a burst that provides maybe something similar to what the Dendro MC provides with their burst, just plenty of elemental application for people to utilize in their teams. It's also possible that Hydro main character will be a healer because we have yet to get a healer type character for the main character, and it seems that each element sort of has a slightly different role. Anemo main character does crowd control, Electro main character provides energy as well as electro application, and Dendro main character provides a ton of elemental application as well as a couple utility elements within their burst as well. So it's pretty likely that we will see a healer form with the Hydro main character, but it's also possible we won't. I mean, for all I know, they could give Hydro MC a shield or something like that. But yeah, I would be pretty much willing to believe that the skill will be like some quick Hydro application, maybe a heal as well. And then the burst will be continuous Hydro application with continuous healing. So again, I could be totally wrong. I'm speculating 100%. I don't look at leaks. So, you know, yeah, that's what I think about that. Another thing that we know we are going to see is a bunch of lore about the Oceanid. This has been discussed multiple times, and we've had events in the past where they have given us some lore about Fontaine and the Oceanids that live there. And as it turns out, there is quite a unique relationship with the Oceanids and the Hydro Archon, and it seems like there may be some sort of conflict, as I remember, with the Hydro Archon, the Oceanids. Like, if I remember correctly from the Endura event, like forever ago, a lot of Oceanids were leaving the Hydro region because the new Hydro Archon was not or the most recent Hydro Archon is not someone that they approve of or something like that. So yeah, it kind of seems like the Hydro Archon is not such a great person, and obviously there will be regional conflict due to that. No matter what we've experienced in Genshin, there's always regional conflict tied to the Hydro Archon, or sorry, to any Archon. No matter what region we go to, whether it's the Archon's fault or not, whether they're a bad guy or not, there is always conflict involving them in that region that we have to resolve. Personally, because of the very little bit that we know about Fontaine, I think that a lot of the conflict will revolve around the Hydro Archon being sort of this judicial tyrant, where they run the court system and it's not fair to the people, it's corrupt, and so it ends up being sort of like an authoritarian structure where the Hydro Archon is seizing control over the nation with judicial tyranny. Another thing that we know about Fontaine is that it is the nation with the most advanced technology in Teyvat. So as we go into Fontaine, I'm sure that we will be able to see and experience all sorts of cool mechanical and technological inventions that the people of Teyvat have come up with. As well, I expect to see the society being heavily influenced by that. Like within the city, it would be cool if there's like a train system or something like that. You know, we can see like mechanical elevators. I'm sort of expecting a lot of big gears and a lot of steampunk style designs and a lot of, you know, like steam pistons and gears and all that stuff. A lot of copper colors and glass and all that good stuff. So yeah, that would be really interesting and really cool to see that the technology has been, you know, influential on the culture of the region, and I'm sure that we are going to learn a lot about that. As well, with the technology side of things, I have a feeling that we're going to learn a lot more about the non-humans. Like one of the harbingers, and I can't remember her name right now, unfortunately. I'll like slap some text on the screen with her name. She has a giant robot puppet, and she's also the harbinger in charge of the Adventurers Guild. And as we know, the Adventurers Guild is run by robots named Catherine. There are also other non-humans that we have come across, like Albedo and Scaramouche, the Balladeer, you know. But yeah, I have a feeling that we're going to learn more about how these beings have come to be, and like what exactly are they composed of, and how do they achieve such a high level of humanity without being humans? You know what I mean? And so like I think a lot of that is stuff that we will learn within the Fontaine region. Okay, so next up, I just want to talk about what I hope to see. So these are things that I have no idea whether we will actually get or not, but I just really would love to see them. So first up is just something that I've wanted for a long time, an easier way to swap gadgets. I feel like this is sort of redundant, but bear with me. If they added a gadget into the game that let you slot other gadgets into it, and then when you press tab, you could like use your camera, or you could use your NRE, or you could use, you know, one of your other, you know, like the feather thing, or the leaf thing that lets you float or glide farther distances. That would be great. It would just be nice to have a gadget that allows you to swap gadgets without having to open a menu and pause the game every time you want to. It would just be really nice. And yeah, I know that's simple, but that's just a quality of life thing that I could see us getting in the region. Again, it's because the region is based on technology. So I would hope that the gadgets we get in Fontaine will be more significant or more useful than the gadgets that we've been getting in the previous regions. Not to say that those are useless. I mean, they are kind of niche in their uses, but I use the leaf gadget all the time for gliding to get places faster, and I also like to use the camera gadget to take pictures. So if I could swap between those two at least, or just, you know, maybe the different pets that we have, you could slot those in to quickly put them away or take them out. Another thing I would like to see is an emphasis on enemies that are robotic in nature. So like hopefully we'll see less human style enemies and less hilly churls, and they can bring in a whole new kind of unit, like just a robotic unit. And I know we already have the ruin machines and many variations on that. Yeah, I don't know. It would just be cool to see more enemy variety, and I'm sure we will see more enemy variety, but also, it would be cool to see units that can use technology or gadgets or robots or whatever it ends up being alongside their visions. So like we could be seeing units that are kind of like Madame Faruzan, who use gadgets or robotics with their vision to achieve the fighting style that they have. This is just more of an aesthetic thing, but I feel like a lot of Genshin characters seem very magical, and it would just be kind of cool to have characters who use their visions like as a conduit for their robotics and their gadgets and their machines. Another thing I would really like to see is a focus for the story on justice as performance, as theater, and how corruption of a justice system can lead to massive issues in the society. I sort of talked about this a little bit earlier, that the Hydro Archon I think is going to be sort of like a tyrant, and we're going to need to challenge them at their own game. I'm sort of hoping to have almost like a Phoenix Wright effect where the Traveler goes on trial or whatever. It would just be really cool to see that kind of story arc played out in Genshin. Now, of course, I don't really know what's going on in the Hydro region. I don't really have any idea what the Hydro Archon is up to. But yeah, based on the Traval preview trailer that we got forever ago, it sort of laid out the idea of the Hydro Archon as the Archon of Justice and how they live for the performance of the courtroom and all that stuff, which is sort of where I get this idea. So I really don't think it's that speculative. Like, I think that we can pretty much expect that to be the primary conflict, but who knows? Who knows what they have up their sleeves? And finally, I would really like to see more Hydro options. I mean, that's like super obvious, and probably we are going to get a lot of Hydro options. Hydro is a super important element in the game, and currently I know that we already have quite a few Hydro units. Surprisingly, that's not really enough. Like, there are a growing number of team compositions in Genshin Impact, and the more teams we have, the more units we need to support those teams. Yeah, I kind of talked about this earlier with Hydro main character. Having more Hydro options would just be fantastic for the game in general. There are a lot of teams that would function better if they had like an appropriate Hydro support, and there would be even more team compositions possible if we could increase the number of Hydro units in the game. That's pretty much all I have to say about Fontaine. I kind of covered what I think we can expect and the things that I would like to see. Alright, so if you have stuck around up until this point, I'm going to be talking about what I did this week in Genshin Impact. This week, I started the Paris, I think I'm saying that right, the Paris quest in Sumeru, and the event related to it, because there was that event. I had to start those quests, even though I'm not really at that point. But regardless, the quests have been pretty interesting, and they've opened up some new interesting lore that we didn't know about prior to these quests, like how the cataclysm sort of took place on the ground and the effects of the cataclysm immediately after, as well as what prevented it from getting even worse than it was. The event tied to the quests was cool as well. It was kind of fun to clear out the hilly churl camps by bombing them from the air. That was kind of funny. It was like a little puzzle. But yeah, it was pretty simple. Other than that, I don't really have much to say for that. Other than the quest and the event, I farmed artifacts for Dia. I've been farming that domain for her so that I can build out my Burgeon team, which is like the Baiju, Mona, Dia, Ayato team. I am pretty full up on artifacts, so I think this next week I'm going to have to tackle the artifact strongbox. You can look forward to that next week. I'll probably have a segment of the video at the end about my artifact strongbox section. Other than that, I was able to get C1 Baiju, and I won the 50-50 there, so that was pretty cool. The C1 is pretty helpful for Dendro application, but also for energy generation for teams, so I'm glad that I got it. The C2 looks alright, but it's only every 5 seconds that it procs like the extra attack or whatever, so it's not something that I'm super concerned about getting. I think I would like to get it in the future. But my plans up until Fontaine are honestly just to save and not pull. I'm pretty happy at the level of like constellations that all my units have and the units that I have. I don't really feel the need to pull on any of these reruns coming up, so it gives me a good opportunity to start saving Primo Gems and resources for Fontaine, because I'm sure that we're going to get a ton of units thrown at us all at once. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much if you watched all the way to the end. I appreciate that. Let me know down in the comments below what you are looking forward to in Fontaine, or just let me know what you're working on in Genshin Impact in general. At the end of my videos, I've been wanting to do highlighted comments, and I don't really have any this week because no one really commented on my last video. But I do have one comment from Exhausted Axolotl that says, "Woo, that is all." Thank you for that. I appreciate you. And yeah, if you want to be highlighted, leave a comment with your thoughts and I will reply to it in my video and also discuss it further. Wow. Isn't that great? Make sure you drop a like on the video and subscribe. If you would like to join a friendly community of Genshin gamers, feel free to hit up my Discord. The link is in the description of my videos. I also usually throw it in the pinned comment with the Patreon shout out. And speaking of my Patreon, if you would like to support me and my future content endeavors, I have a variety of tiers of support that you can access on my Patreon, and I would super appreciate anything that anyone is willing to do. Okay, so that's going to bring us to the end of this video. Until next time, stay healthy, stay hydrated. Peace.